Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before the crystalline containment unit, her weathered hands pressed against the cool surface. Inside, suspended in a perfect stasis field, floated the last Vex Queen, a creature that had once brought the entire galaxy to its knees. The irony wasn't lost on her. Humanity, once considered the weakest species in the Galactic Council, had accomplished what 37 advanced civilizations couldn't in 3 centuries of warfare. They had completely eradicated the Vex. "Still can't believe it's over," muttered Commander Jang, approaching from behind. His uniform bore the scars of countless battles, each burn mark a testament to humanity's desperate struggle for survival. Elena nodded, never taking her eyes off the specimen. The Vex Queen was beautiful in a terrifying way. Her obsidian carapace gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, while 6 sets of compound eyes remained forever frozen in their final moment of consciousness. Humanity had spent 50 years learning to hate these creatures, and another 20 learning to hunt them to extinction. The war had begun when the Vex first emerged from the void between galaxies. They were unlike anything the universe had seen, a perfect fusion of organic evolution and technological adaptation. Their ships weren't built, they were grown. Their weapons weren't manufactured, they were birthed. Every Vex unit was simultaneously a soldier, a factory, and a potential colony ship. The Althari, with their millennium of military experience, fell within weeks. The crystalline Zephyrins, masters of energy manipulation, lasted barely a month. One by one, each species that had once looked down upon humanity's primitive technology found themselves consumed, their worlds stripped bare and converted into massive Vex nurseries. Humanity should have been extinct within days. Their weapons were crude, their shields primitive, their ships laughably slow by galactic standards. But the Vex made one critical error. They underestimated human adaptability. "Remember the first time we saw one of these things?" Zhang asked, gesturing toward the Queen. "Back on Europa Station," Elena remembered, the terror in everyone's eyes, as the Vex boarding pods had torn through the station's hull like paper. The screams as colonists were dragged away to be processed into biological material for the hive mind. She remembered how helpless they'd felt, how certain their extinction had seemed. But then came the turning point. While other species tried to match the Vex with superior technology, humanity did what they'd always done best. They adapted, improvised, and found another way. Dr. Kenji Nakamura had been the first to notice it. The Vex operated on a hive mind principle, but their individual units still required basic biological functions. They breathed, they metabolized, they processed waste, and like any living system, they could be poisoned. The breakthrough came not from humanity's greatest scientists, but from Maria Santos, a small-town veterinarian from Earth. She had observed that the Vex showed patterns similar to certain Earth parasites, specifically how they optimized their resource consumption. If humanity couldn't outfight them or out-tech them, maybe they could out-evolve them. The solution was elegantly simple. Humanity began releasing modified organisms into contested zones. Bacteria, viruses, and synthetic proteins designed not to kill the Vex immediately, but to integrate into their biological systems. The Vex, in their efficiency, absorbed everything useful they encountered. They never realized they were consuming their own doom. It took 15 years for the plan to work. 15 years of carefully calibrated biological warfare that the Vex couldn't detect until it was too late. The modified organisms didn't attack the Vex directly. Instead, They gradually altered the biochemical signals that maintained hive mind cohesion. Elena still remembered the day the first Vex ship began attacking its own fleet, then another. Within months, the perfect unity that had made the Vex unstoppable became their greatest weakness. Isolated from the hive mind, individual Vex units became confused, aggressive toward each other, and ultimately self-destructive. The galaxy watched, in stunned silence as humanity systematically hunted down every remaining Vex presence. Ship by ship, planet by planet, they eliminated every trace of the species that had nearly consumed the universe. Other civilizations offered assistance, but by then, humans had developed an expertise in Vex extermination that no one else could match. The Council still doesn't understand how we did it, Zhang continued. They keep asking for our advanced biological warfare techniques. Elena smiled grimly. We didn't have advanced techniques. We had Maria Santos and a veterinary degree from a small agricultural college. We had farmers who understood pest control and doctors who knew how viruses spread. We had every human who ever struggled with weeds in their garden or ants in their kitchen. The real genius hadn't been in the technology, it had been in the perspective. Humanity was the only species that had spent millennia coexisting with and controlling other biological organisms. Every other civilization had transcended such concerns ages ago, relying on sterile technology and energy-based solutions. They had forgotten the messy, chaotic, wonderful complexity of biological warfare. The Vex Queen's body would remain here in the museum, the last of her kind. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see the creature that had once terrorized the universe, now reduced to a curiosity behind glass. Most barely glanced at the small placard that mentioned humanity's role in the extinction. Sometimes I wonder if we went too far, Zhang said quietly. Elena considered this. They had shown no mercy, offered no quarter. The Vex had been completely erased from existence, not just killed, but made extinct with a thoroughness that bordered on the vindictive. Every egg, every larva, every genetic trace had been systematically destroyed. They chose to make it a war of extinction, she replied finally. We just made sure we weren't the ones going extinct. As she turned away from the containment unit, Elena reflected on humanity's strange position in the galaxy. They were no longer the weakest species. That distinction now belonged to someone else. But they weren't feared either. If anything, they were quietly ignored, their victory attributed to luck rather than skill. The other species had returned to their advanced technologies and energy-based solutions, confident that the Vex had been an anomaly they couldn't comprehend. That humanity's greatest weapon had been something far more fundamental than any technology, their intimate understanding of life itself. Elena smiled as she walked toward the exit. Let them forget. Let humanity remain underestimated. The next time the galaxy faced an impossible threat, they would once again dismiss human capabilities, and once again, they would be wrong.